We next have a panel discussion, ESG in action, key takeaways, and the road ahead. Over the past 2 days, we have explored ESG from multiple lenses, right? Policy, industry, reporting, assurance, finance, and regulation. This concluding panel brings together all these diverse perspectives from consulting, industry, urban infrastructure, sustainability practice, and governance to reflect on what we have learned and, more importantly, to chart actionable pathways forward. The focus of this discussion will be on collaboration, innovation, governance mechanisms, and real world implementation, helping professionals and enterprises move from intent to impact. It is my privilege to invite the moderator for this session, CMA Vijay Kiran Agastya, Chairperson SIRC. With his rich blend of corporate leadership and entrepreneurship, academia, and professional governance, he brings the ideal perspective to guide today's session. I invite CMA Raju PT, Kottayam chapter, to please welcome sir with the sapling. Now invite our esteemed panelists. Our first panelist is CMA Venkateshwaran Ramakrishnan sir. Sir, it's my privilege to welcome you once more onto the stage. We have on the panel next Sri Sachidanandan TP, Director Business Services, SIGN. Mr. Sachidanandan is a seasoned human resource and sustainability leader with over 20 years of cross-sector experience across technology, consulting and sustainability at SIGN. He leads carbon markets engagement in India and plays a key pivotal role in strengthening the organization's ESG intelligence and ratings capabilities. He brings deep expertise in integrating ESG frameworks into core business strategy with strong working knowledge of BRSR, GRI, ISSB aligned disclosures, and carbon emission reporting standards. His work focuses on operationalizing sustainability, strengthening governance, enabling transparent ESG reporting, and supporting organizations on climate aligned strategies. Prior to SIGN, he has held leadership roles with organizations such as EY, Axel, OreoPro, and Aditya Birla Group, contributing to organizational transformation, people strategy, and governance-led growth. I request CMA Siju Devyani, Chairperson, Kottayam Chapter, to welcome Sri Sachidanandan TP with a sapling. Aparna ma'am is a Senior Program Manager, Electric Mobility with the Cities and Transport team at WRI India. With over 10 years of experience in sustainable urban development and mobility, she works at the intersection of policy research and partnerships, driving systemic transformation towards decarbonized transport. Aparna engages with a diverse network of partners and public stakeholders in India and across the global south to advance the decarbonization agenda. Previously, she played a pivotal role in shaping WRI India's support to national stakeholders on India electric bus transition, contributing to policy design, procurement frameworks, and enabling the advancement of e-bus market in India. She's a trained civil engineer and an urban planner. I request CMA Balakrishnan, Thrissur chapter, to welcome Srimati Aparna Vijaykumar with the sapling. Our next panelist is Sri Gokul TG. He is the Additional General Manager for Urban Transport at Kochi Metro Rail Limited on deputation from Kerala MVD, where he is Deputy Transport Commissioner. For KMRL, he leads the planning and implementation of integrated mobility initiatives aimed at enhancing first and last mile connectivity in the Greater Kochi region. He has overseen the rollout of Metro Connect electric feeder bus services, linking key metro and water metro terminals, a strategic initiative by KMRL to strengthen multimodal integration. A two-time recipient of Kerala Chief Minister's Transport Medal for Meritorious Service, he has brought a mobility-oriented lens to KMRL's transport planning, focusing on sustainability, operational optimization, and enhanced commuter experience. An award-winner cartoonist, his comic strip Small Talk appears in the News Indian Express Sunday paper. I request CMA Binoy, Kottayam chapter, to welcome Sri Gokul TG with a sapling. We now have an exceptional panel representing all critical pillars of ESG ecosystem. With this, I invite CMA Vijay Kiran Agastya to kindly take over the proceedings and moderate the panel discussion.
Great. First of all, congratulations to Cochin chapter for inviting a distinguished panel with a variety of experience and skill set that comes to the table. I know the comparer gave me a specific task of what am I supposed to do, but I'll digress a little bit. When we talk about ESG, the awareness in the audience uh, can be at a very basic level to a very involved experience of ESG. So I would like to keep the initial questions or discussion at a very high level, then delve into details. We'll have an opportunity for the audience also to ask a few questions. So we'll take it that way. I'm sorry to disappoint you if you had something else in mind. Uh, we'll try to get as much time as possible with the group of panelists together and try to get equal amount of time from each one of them. So that I'll make an attempt at that. Let's see how it goes. I'll pick up a few that are costing, and then there should be other stuff that we have to really understand from an ESG standpoint. Okay. So I'll start with Gokulji. Sir, today we are hearing a lot about quality. We are hearing a lot about digital. We are hearing a lot about ESG as well, right? And technology. Okay, digital, when we say, okay, people are talking a lot about AI because we are experiencing use of AI. When we think about it, these are not ideally individual components. They have to, interact with each other, right? They have to work with each other. But have we reached a stage where leadership in organizations is looking at the collaboration of these components? If not, what is the shift in the mindset that is required?
So for us, if you look at transport as the sector, it's also kind of recently Supreme Court said that it is the basic right of a human being to have a safe and accessible transport system. It was a case which was relating to actually pedestrian path and access to it, but then it makes a very important point that transit is not just a business, it's a basic right under Article 21 of the Constitution, which makes it a very important thing, because transit, if planned properly and provided properly, allows a lot of improvement in the society, especially by connecting to other resources, which was earlier not available to a large section of the society. So the basic idea of transport is to make it accessible and affordable and now also resilient, given the climate change process we are going through. So I think sustainability in transport doesn't end with tailpipe emissions of transport that we are trying to kind of look at in the first step. But I think, as you said, it's more of optimizing your operations. It's developing digital solutions so that a long-term sustainability is also reached. I always look at sustainability not just as an environmental sustainability, but as systems. It also requires financial sustainability to sustain over a long period of time. So what will happen is that if you treat transport just as a service and say that profits doesn't matter, or that we need to keep on subsidizing transport to a large extent, I say that it's true that you need to support it as a service, but in long term, in real world experience, what I feel is that if you keep on subsidizing or don't allow transport to grow infrastructure which are self-reliant and self-sustainable, long down the way, it's the investment will dry up at some point. So this is one critical thing we all need to kind of look at, that how does technology alters? What is the way optimizing resources? A simple example would be our data analytics platform that we are developing right now for the electric bus system, because it's an urban bus system, and every paise that I can tweak from the CPKM, which is the cost per kilometer, allows me to have a better earnings per kilometer. So it's very simple. It's cost to earnings that you all know much better than me. But for that, I need to have systems to understand every way. Like if the fare, it could be the charging of the electric bus, it could be the data analytics coming from the bus telematics. These are extremely now required so that you make informed decisions for the operations. So sustainability doesn't stop at tailpipe emissions. It also look at everyday decisions that you're making for your system. And that's why technology comes in. And I think now people have started, at least in Kochi Metro, we have started realizing that it's just not tailpipe emissions, but the design of the system, which itself has to take care of sustainability when you develop a system in itself.
Great, sir. So can I ask a follow-up question to that? Somewhere you pointed out that data analytics is used. by Kochi Metro in order to make better decision, etc. Is there any other example of digital in your mind that is helpful for a customer standpoint in terms of utilizing Kochi Metro and therefore leading up to a more sustainable, transport opportunity?
So, as I earlier said, accessibility is a huge part of sustainability itself. The idea of equity, like all sections of society should access public transport. Also, like, I mean, it shouldn't be gender based. It should be, a lot of people with different earnings. So these kind of things should not be there. It should be, equal accessibility and equitable to all sections of society. For example, we have around 65% women traveling in our feeder buses, which is not a normal statistic. If you ask me, around 40 is the biggest and almost the standard rate of the percentage of women traveling in a bus. So I'm looking at why 65% of women travelers in my bus. So probably it has to do something with safety, security, and reliability. So these are the things which does not feature in your normal conversations, but these are the things that make people come to your service. So for example, we have realized that harassment of women happens most at waiting stations in the bus stations, which are darkly lit and people are not having. So by just improving or just providing, let's say, GTFS data, which is the General Transit Field Specification, where we push it on the Google map, and then someone looking at a Google map can know when the next bus is coming, itself can change how people access this thing. So if you have a GTFS data, you have a live tracking of the bus. They don't need to come and wait for a bus which arrives 10 minutes later. They can come at like just 1 minute or 2 minutes earlier and stay, and the harassment goes down. So it's your service level also improves drastically with the customer facing initiatives, which I think is the most important thing. If you do an operation, customer is going to be the most critical part in bringing. So giving a general service doesn't really matter anymore. What is the add-on to your service that people are looking for? That's what will bring people to you.
Great example, sir. Great example on customer safety. I think that naturally brings in more customers. We are talking about sustainable enterprises. Sir, you wanted to add something.
I'm audible? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Agastya, and thanks ICMAI Cochin chapter and Sustainability Standard Board for conducting such a program that lasted for last couple of days. And I also want to personally thank you for a wonderful introduction that you gave to ESG. That was the simplest version of an explanation to ESG that man has given, that I have seen. So thank you for that. I just want to add one of the point that Gokul had, though I am not an expert in transportation industry, but I had an opportunity to work with an organization where we were catering to city commute. So wherein we were primarily working in a metro project, and we were the first organization during that time to establish a single loop, open loop card in India for the first time. And we had used that in Noida Metro and Nagpur Metro a couple of years back. And we didn't realize it as a sustainability drive during that time. But if I look back to that development, because it was a lot of saving on customers' end for having the need of an additional card to travel in a metro station. So an open loop card at that time, it had saved a lot of money and it would have saved a lot of energy in the back end. But we were not done it with the realization of an ESG perspective, but that had worked in that way. And apart from that, how you were mentioning about the interference of technology into our day-to-day life and the availability of artificial intelligence across our daily life. So I've recently, I was paneling for one of a competition that was held in Cochin, and there were like a global participant, and there were a couple of students from a school, and they had come up with an idea which would cater to one of the longest problem that Kochi had been facing for quite a long time, the parking issue. So they had come up with a solution with the help of artificial intelligence. They had taken, probably, I'm not sure whether you're aware of the Cochin transport. It's really hectic, man. I can vouch for it. So, so they have taken Palarivattam to Kakanad, the Infopark structure, and they had identified different sport, those were vacant, household sport, or the places that around like restaurants or cinema theaters, whichever place that was vacant. They had approached the owners and they got into an agreement that they will install AI enabled cameras and they will provide the last mile connectivity and they will have a server in the background and it will work as an autonomous or an autonomous parking system and wherein people can book their parking in advance, days in advance. So that was a student project, but that was highly appreciated by the panel and they were actually promised by one of a major investor to invest on that project, and I believe they are starting it now as a startup. So these are all the perks that the society is getting by the availability of artificial intelligence and technology into our day-to-day life.
Both are really good examples. Both the focus was on what can the organization do for the people, the social aspect of ESG, right? That leads me up to the next question. From a CMA standpoint, so Venkateshwaran sir, this is something that probably you will be able to add more value, and definitely other panelists also can join in suggesting your perspective. For a long time, cost accountants have been looked at the cost stewards, the cost control gurus, right? But if we look at these two examples, these are how do we orchestrate value? Probably in putting up more safety measures or in working with all the shops to get more parking slots, the organizations ended up spending more money. But the value that is coming out of this additional spend is only, it's so intrinsic and organizations hesitate to put in that effort. So how should the mindset change from being the cost stewards to value orchestrators in organization? The role of CMA, how should it change?
So, actually, see, it's like going back to the history only, because when cost audit was actually introduced, it was mainly meant for the, manufacturing sector or the industries or sectors which the government will notify. Now, what has happened, yesterday, our chief guest was mentioning about the Manmohan Singh's 1991 budget. So that actually has done away with the administered pricing, the license permit quota Raj, and in that place the liberalization, privatization and globalization has taken its roots and has grown, and that's why we are having today a scenario where services sector is accounting for the largest chunk of the GDP, and then manufacturing and agriculture also. So what you have to understand is that, see, we all talked about technology as well as about the data. So both are service. Information technology as well as data, whether it is the, data storage or data analytics or data privacies, all are something which we don't have as of now cost audit mandated. So how we can actually, reorient our profession will be where we have to actually try to look at roles which are there in the fastest as well as the largest sector within the economy, which is the services sector. And there actually, that is where actually we have to really look at not cost accountant, but as cost and management accountant. And if we are able to, redefine our role there, then I think it will be like a big field that will be opening up. I'm just, be very frank with this one, because, we are actually thinking that, Income Tax Act 2025 will give us tax audit status. We will be considered as accountant. But that's not just, the end of the world. Actually, if you look at where actually the real growth is happening, and, just like, I was just, giving you the example of the companies from Kerala which are listed and which are having, Kerala registered companies. You look at it, majority of them are financial services sector. FSCT, what is the business today? It is a ranked third. So this is what I wanted to tell you, that, you have to just look at, and of course, agriculture also. Now, agriculture also will benefit a lot from the technology that we are talking about. And there also, the data analytics that has been mentioned, how it can be helpful for that one. And because of that, we'll be getting more output from the input that will be going. That's actually the efficiency or the costing angle. So this is what my take on that.
Great, sir. Any panelists would like to add to this? Yeah.
So I think when you started off with the question, Vijay, it was also with regards to how do, probably simply put, how do we probably measure the impact of urban service delivery, right? So in my sector where I work, in the development sector, we do a lot of monitoring, evaluation and learning, MEL, right? And when it comes to urban services like transportation, while our balance sheets would talk about cost per kilometer and earnings per kilometer, a lot of the impact is also not things which can actually go into a balance sheet. It is providing opportunity for somebody to work, to education, to healthcare facilities, to a lady who does not drive. It provides a bus or a train or a metro. It provides the opportunity to travel anywhere independently without relying on anybody, right? So these are also the kind of intangible, indirect benefits of urban services. I'm only taking the example of mobility. It is probably for every such urban service. So how do we bring even such intangible benefits, impacts into the framework? Because as Gokul mentioned earlier, none of our urban services are profit-making services, and we cannot expect them to be either. So in that case, then how do we scale up these services, citing these indirect benefits as well? So that's something that I wanted to add.
Bit rant
please.
subject because Ranjani is probably the only person who will understand in Kochi Metro that when I talk about this to her. So the problem is that how do we assess the impact is a very simple, there were not financial approach available before, but recently in 2018 to 2020, Terry did an important study of DMRC. What is the TERI is the in a Delhi-based think tank which does economic assessment as well. So they did an assessment of what the impact of Delhi Metro Rail Limited in that larger Delhi area. So what they came to say is that financial impact and economic impact are two different things that we should look at.
Right.
So the financial impact of Delhi Metro is probably 1,500 crores on loss. Similarly, Kochi Metro is always, people say that you have built a system which you have to pay 350 crores every year to the banks. Okay, so what Terry study revealed was that the overall economic impact of having a system in terms of reducing congestion, improving, reducing pollution, improving accessibility, or even reducing road accidents, everything together, and even a development of new areas, FSI is going up, people investing in land and all those things, they calculated that it is around 7,000 crores. The impact of having Delhi Metro is 7,000 crores, which means the positive economic impact of DMRC is around 5,500 crores, which is a huge impact. So this is what we are now trying to understand. Like we are right now proposed a study on similar lines as to what is the impact assessment of Kochi Metro as for a society around it. So probably there are now tools for that. measuring the intangible into a tangible amount as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, in fact, we heard something similar. Usually politicians, being an expert, he used the word rant. Politicians are supposed to be rant all the time. But one example that came to my mind was one of the ministers in Telangana when Hyderabad Metro was being introduced. The opposition was telling that for the next 20 years it is foreseeable loss. Why do they even want to take up this project? He answered it in just 2 points. He said 5 lakh people will commute every day in 1 hour less time each way. That means 10 lakh hours are back in the kitty for the productivity to go up. And the second thing that he said is existence of a metro rail in this city will invite more companies to come and invest in this city. That's the other points I'm sure well appreciated by well appreciated what Gokul sir has said. So I think indirectly what Gokulji has pointed to us as cost accountants is find a way to quantify this. These seem to be intangible. Find a way to quantify. Yesterday I was also using a term. Cost in the short term is very easy to measure. It becomes very difficult to measure in the long term. Difficult doesn't mean that it is not possible. I think that's an aspect definitely we'll take away from both Aparna ma'am and Gokul sir's points. Aparna ma'am, specific question to you. We hear a lot about circular economy. Newspapers write a lot about it. All these things come as a buzzword. For some time they'll remain as a buzzword, and 90% of the people who use the buzzword may not even understand what they mean. There's a lot said. According to you, how much has been achieved in terms of circular economy, and what opportunity do we still see?
I think you're going to listen to a lot of transport related examples today, both Gokul and myself being from this sector. So again, I'll take up the example of electric mobility when it comes to circular economy. When I told Sachidanandan yesterday that I work here, so a big question which comes up is batteries, right? We are moving from fossil fuel to probably renewable energy based electric vehicles. And it's a huge movement right now. It's a huge movement and a moment in history right now that we are moving from fossil fuels to clean technologies in vehicles. But in that case, we are also moving from one energy intensive system to another energy and resource intensive system, which is batteries. And in India, we don't have the critical minerals or the rare earths to manufacture batteries. So we all know that we are getting our cells essentially from China. And again, a big push towards the whole electric vehicle transition is to attain energy security within India. We do not want to rely on any other country for fossil fuels. So we are moving to electric mobility. But again, now our value chain has shifted from fossil fuel value chain to another geopolitically wrought battery value chain, where China is at the center, and many other nations are also part of this whole ecosystem. So one number which I will put in front of you is that in 2021 we required about 20 gigawatt hours of battery for electric vehicles. And the projection is that by 2032 we might require around 600 gigawatt hours of battery. That's around 30 times. And this is only for electric vehicles. We are a rapidly urbanizing, rapidly growing country. We require battery technology for multiple other applications like renewables or power generation and multiple other applications, right? So this is the kind of requirement we have. And this, what do we do with our batteries that are already used? Does it go into the landfills? So in India, especially, there is multiple geopolitical tension when it comes to importing raw materials and even importing battery technology, so that we create a domestic battery value chain or ecosystem in India. In order to combat that, or in order to address that, we have the battery waste management rules, as well as the country is working towards battery circularity. So here there are two things. We could either reuse the battery, or we could even look at repurposing or recycling the various components in the battery. So in order to do that, I'll take up what Murthy sir presented yesterday. There is, we need to understand what goes into a battery so that we can take a call on whether it goes for reuse or recycling or repurposing, and what is the technology used that could be put to use for it. That is where digital passports, digital product passports come into play. So a battery passport would contain the information as to where all of the material for this battery comes from, as well as how the battery has been performing throughout its lifetime. So this gives a lot of information to a recycler or a refurbisher to understand how they can, they can ensure circularity in the battery chain is achieved. So in EU, there is a battery passport which would come into effect in 2027. And in India, we are starting battery Aadhaar pilots. We are calling the battery passport battery Aadhaar in India. So such pilots are happening. And there is also a lot of work on extended product responsibility when it comes to battery, because most of our manufacturers do not manufacture their own battery. So that business is also decoupled that way. So who takes the risk of circularity in the battery? So essentially, two things would be to bring in more EPRs, and for most of our even clean technology products, to ensure that we have robust product passports which would ensure circularity.
Good perspective you shared, madam. Triggers one other thought, and any of the panelists can share your perspective. Just going to the macroeconomic scenario. I'll come to you, sir. Come to the audience in a few minutes. Whenever we talk about sustainability related aspects, climate change, there's also a criticism. The narrative that we write, or the narrative that we drive in the world, is benefiting a certain industry or a certain economy. So you talked about geopolitics and economy as well. In the 80s, oil became the new gold, as they say, right? Prior to that, Middle East was known to be a desert. Then it became a gold mine, right? So today, now we are talking about minerals. According to you, madam, who is benefiting in this process? And it can be generic. We are
I am
just
taking
talking
that
about
as a rhetorical question. Because, I think finally, like how our chief guest yesterday mentioned, it should be people, nature, and then industry. So putting all of these caveats in place so that it does not benefit one industry or one country or one sector inordinately, let us as professionals put in all of the caveats in place and the processes to take these forward in place, so that we are putting people and nature first rather than any other industry.
that was a diplomatic rhetoric question. Please go ahead.
I'll also say that see, now as far as the climate change is concerned, the threat is very real, and we all in Kerala at least know that we have got flash floods, we have got heat islands. So in Kochi, around 40% of the area of Kochi city can be submerged. It's very flood prone, and also 32% of the total area in Kochi corporation is heat prone. So you have two extreme conditions that you have to face, and we have to see that, for example, from my sector, transport, 17% of the total greenhouse emissions come from transport. Kochi is a place which kind of has a sea level rise at 2 centimeter every year, which means that 2050, many of the region that we see as right now as the CBD area will be underwater. So, which is very real because the MSL is only 1 meter in Kochi. So, 2 centimeter in another 50 years, you're almost all of the major places are underwater. So, it is very real. I mean, we have, so the problem is that there is a sense of urgency as well. So electric mobility might be might not be the final answer. It might be just a pathway as a transitional pathway.
Correct.
Better technology hydrogen is another coming, but right now it's not very, for it has its own problems like safety as well as affordability, but we'll get there. Like what did with electric buses when initially it came, it had all its problems.
Right.
So
Right.
it could be a transition but the sense of urgency makes us to kind of adapt whatever is available right now and whatever is quickly doable.
Excellent. The reporting aspect, sometimes that's also criticized heavily. Is it a reporting fatigue or is it a lever of value, right? And you have seen right from the beginning how the reporting has evolved, the genesis, the philosophy by which the reporting has come, what are the challenges that we have faced, etc. So throw some light on these aspects of the reporting.
You have seen the final output and what information it gathers. It's only just the history that has to be told here because like we were talking about sustainable development goals 2015 to 2030, but there was predecessor to that which was the Millennium Development Goals 2000 to 2015. Similarly, in the case of BRSR, there was BRR, Business Responsibility Reporting was there. And when Sustainability Development Goals took the place of Millennium Development Goals, Ministry of Corporate Affairs came out with the National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct. And when that National Guidelines for Responsible Business Conduct was prescribed by Ministry of Corporate Affairs, so now that is where actually, they set up a committee to come out with a BRSR format and taking into account, the role of small and medium enterprises and its contribution to employment generation and output in the economy. They even specified a BRSR light also, in addition to the BRSR report that the listed entities are filing. And in that committee that was set up by MCA, there was SEBI representation, but all the three institutes also were there at the level of the president. From ICMAI, Belvinder was the member. And they only had laid down the BRSR format. And that BRSR format, as actually two speakers have spoken about the 9 principles. All the 9 principles are actually mapped to the SDGs. And so ultimately, if you see, this is like a global race to address the risk of climate change. And why is it that, we are asking this report? So in securities market, the saying is that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Like by sunlight, it is like, you disclose so that, expose it to the public knowledge and let them take a decision on whether to put their money and where to put their money. Whereas in the case of, banking, where it is like loans, like, I quoted about the 7,000 plus listed companies. But as at end September, there are about 19,60,000 registered active companies in India. So where do they get their external finance? Other than the capital and resource. They go to the bank. Now, in the case of bank, it's an exposure. It's not equity. So they are not the last person to take the hit. So they actually do the climate risk assessment. That is why, yesterday, again, Chief Guest mentioned about the RBI's draft guidelines on addressing financial risk from climate change. Similarly, many of you have read, or all of you must have read, as well as many of you must have also come across certain products which are called weather derivatives. So the insurance company is actually providing a insurance against the physical risk. Because of that, IRDA in the corporate governance of insurance regulation has specified the framework that insurance companies have also to put in place and the disclosures that they have to make also. So this is actually the, if you look at it across the financial sector, either the emphasis is on, assessing the climate risk, that is the banking sector, and also disclosure so that the stakeholders, all stakeholders will benefit out of it. So definitely, when a bank is also extending a loan, it will also go through the BRSR report or whatever other disclosures that are being made. So this is actually, and it's like, we listen to various framework. So the task force on climate related financial disclosures, that was actually an outcome of the Financial Stability Board. Now it has got merged with the International Sustainability Standards Board, ISSB. Now they have come out with S1 and S2. Now Institute of Cost Accountants of India has also come out with the Indian version of S1, S2, which is the ISS1 and ISS2. And now I think guidance notes are also being prepared for S1 and ISS1 and ISS2. So this is actually, what I'm trying to tell is this has been a global movement, and it is not that something that has happened overnight or in the last 10 years. This is a development that is in the making.
Biggest challenge that a business faces is how to deal with ambiguity. So disclosures or reporting are so important that you are declaring to the world that this is how we are operating. This is how the business has been conducted within the value chain and the ecosystem. And these reports will act as a comprehensive assessment mechanism that tells the world or the investor that how your investment is going to, how you are going to yield out of your investment. And as sir rightly mentioned, there are a number of frameworks, be it BRSR core, and there is a BRSR comprehensive, or if it's IFRS S1, S2, or GIR, or GRI, or CSRD, or whatever framework that we have globally. So you'll see one point that they all stress on one major point, that is what you cannot measure with accuracy, you cannot manage, improve, or defend. So the reporting need to be so accurate that the governing bodies such as SEBI need to play a major role in that, because right now on a given scenario, most of the companies rely on scrambled data, which is spread across Excel sheets with multiple data owners, and on top of that there will be manual consolidation. So all these lead to gaps and data inconsistency, which is a huge audit risk. So the technology, especially AI, need to play a major role in this, wherein any organization, they need to build, what we recommend is an organization need to build a ESG data structure in which with the enablement of AI, they can have a system which populate the data from the functions, from the operation directly. Obviously, it's going to have integrated dashboards and digital MRVs process, so which will which will bring more accuracy into reporting, and that can be easily verified also. So reporting going to be secondary in the future, because people are like, it is mandatory that the top 1,000 companies need to report, and it is again going to going to in effect for other organizations also. So reporting might go into a regular practice, but what highly important is that is your sustainability data, ESG data, can it withstand verification? Is it actionable?
In fact, that was one of my follow-up questions.
Yeah. Is the data, or is it aligned to your business decision making? Or is there an avenue for improvement post-reporting? All these factors shall play in a major role in the upcoming years.
No, one thing that has come out very clearly is in the VUCA world, even though you only talked about the ambiguity, but all the other three variables do play a role. It's even more important for reporting to happen, disclosures to take place. So the question that I had in mind, part of what you said in the end, the one hard truth. Yesterday we were discussing on one table. Obviously, I cannot say who are all on the table, but the discussion was: are financial reports really having true and fair view? Right? I think what you alluded to. How much are these verifiable, and what can we do to make them more robust and more foolproof? I'm probably pushing the question to Venkateshwaran sir again.
So I will just give it from the perspective of this same sustainability reporting, because that is where actually, in addition to quantitative, quantitative is where actually you are getting the true and fair view. That is what the auditor certification is saying. But in the case of sustainability reporting, in addition to quantitative, you have qualitative factors are there. And quantification also is estimates. Like, you just have, yesterday we were listening to Cochin Shipyard Limited's presentation, wherein, if this much diesel is used, this much is the CO2 emission. It's an estimate. So what I want to tell you is that in that sustainability reporting, or where qualitative information is also equally important, how we can ensure that, the stakeholders can trust that. And I am not using the true and fair. What is happening is that is where, in place of audit, what is coming in place is assurance. Right. And similarly, just like we spoke about the S1 and S2, we have the international assurance standards for sustainability reporting is there. And similarly, we have the international ethics board for accountants. So both sustainability and ethics, those things are already in place as regards the global scenario is concerned. And when it comes to India scenario, of course, I just wanted to take 1 minute to emphasize on one good aspect of this BRSR reporting. Like, you were asking, which country is going to benefit. So when we put in place this BRSR, and of course in the morning session we heard about BRSR taking the benefit of various framework, of course predominantly GRI and TCFD and all. But it's not just adapting from them. We have actually thought out of box also. So that is why if you look at BRSR, you will find that the purchasing power parity. So because our rupee, our listed company which is in one particular sector is being compared with that listed entity which is in other jurisdictions, and their emissions and all. So the energy intensity, it has to be purchasing power parity adjusted. Similarly, intensity in terms of revenue or in terms of full-time equivalent, FTE, that also is being given. So that actually is where the comparisons become really meaningful, because one of the slide we have seen in the sessions is that US, it was the largest emitter historically, if you look at it, cumulative emissions. But when it comes to the per capita that we were talking, because we are having, a large population, and US is having a smaller population, we were actually having very low per capita emission compared to the developed markets or other jurisdictions that we were being compared. So that's why the uniqueness of this purchasing power parity adjusted intensity ratios. Now, coming to the assurance, see, that is where actually, we had actually insisted that BRSR core should have reasonable assurance. But then, industry did not want that. And that is why SEBI had to relook at that particular stipulation in its December 2024 board meeting, and on 28th March 2025, because 28th March 2025, because it has to be applicable for 24-25 assurances also. So we said it can be assessment or assurance. Internationally, assurance are mainly two types: limited assurance and reasonable assurance. We had gone for not the gold standard, we had gone for the platinum standard. Now from there, now it is assessment or assurance. Now that is where actually, again, linking it with what, the role of cost accountants when everything is decided by the market. Now, what is happening when the prescription is assessment or assurance, there is actually pressure on these companies. Whoever actually, had done reasonable assurance, he will not go for assessment this year. It's a big climb down. The world will compare, whole world. I'm not just saying the stakeholder. So the really good ones, they will actually still go for assurance. I mean, of course, the practitioner himself is there. So this is what actually I'm trying to tell you. So we have actually now said assessment or assurance, and it will only be a matter of time that there will be assurance standards also that will be prescribed, and similarly Indian standards for ethics as regards sustainability reporting, that also will be put in place.
Great, thank you, sir. So now I'll let audience have any direct questions to the panel, please.
Good afternoon, all, and I'm not having any specific question, but few things just I want to update from my side what is happening with respect to circular economy, and maybe on the lighter note you are mentioning about the costing and all these things. Okay. So with respect to circular economy, especially ma'am is mentioning about the batteries related, okay, and actually I'm a design engineer for the batteries also, okay. I worked in the battery industry for a year, and I'm also part of involving 1000 AH battery this one. So today this is one of the issue where we are having a problem, okay. Recently actually there was one client approached us, and they are saying that we need some assessment with respect to vehicle disposal and all, okay. First of all, we are not clear what exactly they are looking from our side, what we want to do, and in turn he also asked us one point that parallelly we need to develop some standards or something on this, some guideline or standards, and that. So then I told, during that time I was in Noida for some assessment. This sector is most of these industries are in the Noida and surroundings, okay, especially on the north. Then I told, anyhow I am in Noida, why don't you plan a visit to that company to understand what is this process, how they will be going to do and all. So then we came to know that there are around 2 crore vehicles to be disposed in India. Whatever the vehicles, we have a lifespan of the vehicles and all. So 2 lakhs vehicles as of now it has been disposed. Still the vehicles are like that, somebody is using some vehicles are somewhere and all. So then we went inside one of the biggest this disposal company, one of the disposal company, they are pioneers in that, and it requires a lot of land and all, everything. There are some guidelines for disposing and all. So what these people will do is once the vehicle comes, so they will start dismantling each and every material and everything, like battery they will dispose, and seats they will dispose. They will take out this what is called our AC, this gas and everything they will deliver. And suppose some old vehicles will be there, maybe that some people are very much passionate about old vehicles, they want to keep like that. Some parts will not be available and all such parts like doors and other things, they will keep it, and wherever required they will sell it at the different cost. So when we are looking at process, uh, so they will dismantle everything, and wherever possible they will dispose to the material to the authorized vendors and all. And finally the body will be there. The body they will crush it and they will make it as a and they, wherever they want they will be going to send. So when they are making this type of things, they have made a statistics against the manufacturers wise also. They have given a statistics how much from the Maruti, how much from Hyundai and everything. So now the data has been collected, and even today those companies are started coming and looking how these activities are happening today. Even they are paying some money and they are taking the data. But as of now, and they want to reuse in their process and all something. So, and one more thing is normally dispose your vehicle, you can dispose it. Through that we will get some carbon emission and all. So for that, actually, what they told is the dealers are claiming like that, but some validation to be done by the agencies like us. Okay. So when we went there, data, whatever we are discussing today, lot of data are missing there. There is a template like some form 3, something like that. They have a template and all. The data are not available. So based on that one, they cannot come to the conclusion and all. So like that, such type of initiatives are happening, and to see that how best to recycle this material and reuse and all. And second thing is, recently we did one project for product carbon footprinting for one of the diesel engine, we did it. So earlier their PCF value is somewhere around some 15 or something. Once they started using the recycled material, and there are some process changes and everything, they've been bought it from 15 to 6. Okay. And that is one change with respect to this. And other thing is, like in the battery, like ma'am rightly has been told, we are not having much players in the recycling of these batteries and all. Okay. That's why what normally we'll do is the disposal become a problem and all. And recently I have been done one of the assessment for that industry, and there is a plant in Cheyyar near Kanchi. So they have came up with a very good what is called art of technology and all these things. So, and coming to the cost, maybe
Sir, try to give very quickly on that.
Yeah,
so we'll
only.
give one or two more members an
Just
opportunity. Yeah.
you are from Hyderabad, so you know.
Sure. On the way we will talk more.
So I will take that example. Maybe I don't know who are the.
Here, sir, there is no such word as true and fair or anything. It's only disclosure. I mean, all things should be definitely facts only. It cannot be. It's not an opinion. Compared to financial audit report, which is an opinion, this is not a report. This is only disclosure of facts only. So we should be very, very careful.
Thank you for the opportunity. I'm not from finance industries. I'm representing an NGO. So it's an outsider's perspective. Question to Venkateswaran sir. Normally, when a company is asked to report ESG, they start with the materiality assessment. So I think now the stress is on single materiality assessment, so that they internally, I mean, it's on the finance aspects with regard to the company. Now, similar reporting started elsewhere. That means starting with Europe. There was the stress is ideally is basically circular economy, but integrity, accurateness, shallowness, quite a bit of greenwashing, all these were rampant even from the largest of companies. So is there any checks and balances? So say for example, if some companies deliberately do these, are they being penalized? Is there any provision for that?
So it's like not only the impact on the company's financials, it's also the impact on the environment and the society that has to be taken into account, and accordingly the disclosure has to be made. Now, when you are asking, about enforcement, that's what actually you are trying to say here. So, this is actually something that has come in place on mandatory basis from 22-23 BRSR report. So, and we also know that, I will tell you one example. I mean, I won't name the company. So when it was like, energy related disclosures, wherein actually you have to disclose the own facility, bought facility, and scope 1, scope 2, scope 3. Now, there, the intent was that, for the listed entity, you have to disclose whatever are the total. I'm telling you one entity, but that is among the top 100. I mean, it's a bank also. I won't name it, that much I can give. They said this report is based on my head office, regional offices, and these many number of other offices. So so what I'm trying to tell here is that you are actually in a process of evolution of reporting, and that evolution actually is the term that I'm using because you have to put in place the systems to capture the necessary data. And Murthy sir was saying about facts. Actually, there are actually so much of, there are actually 3 sections. One is the general disclosure. Second is the management and process disclosure. Third is the principle-wise performance disclosures. I mean, 9 points, 9 principles. Here, actually, where actually I'm telling you where the discretion comes into play is categorizing the various risks and opportunities that the entity is facing. So there actually, you cannot have the quantitative description of that one. You have to be a qualitative. So coming to the correct, direct answer to your question. So when this is in an evolution stage, and just hardly, 22, 23, 23, 24, 24, 25, and 25, 26 is going on. As of now, we are looking at, hand-holding the corporates to, we means through the stock exchanges, there are so many enablers being done. And one of the things that is there in part 1 is that how much of the workshops or conferences or, trainings are given to the key managerial personnel on BRSR reporting. So right from the top, I was just telling, so right from the top, that sensitization of the reporting is being given. So later on, after some stage, you will be looking at whether the company had provided the correct information. They have put in the systems in place, they have captured the data, and then accordingly they have correctly reported, and whether the assurance provider or the assessment provider has really done his job. That is actually after some time only will be that we can do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I have a very peculiar request from a moderator. No, not 1 second, sir, 1 second. There will be time. There will be time for more questions. A very peculiar request of a moderator. First of all, thank you, Cochin chapter, for giving me this opportunity. I did not make an attempt to behave like Arnab Goswami, India wants to know. And the panelists also had a very healthy way of sharing their perspective on different aspects. It is not fair for us to wrap up this session abruptly because I need to leave. So I request Arun sir to take over and engage with the panel for some more time. And there are a few more questions from the audience. It will be good for us to, if all the panelists agree, we'll spend some more time for the benefit of the audience here. Arun sir.
Now may I request CMA Engineer to hand over our token of gratitude to our own Murthy Garu, the first Chairman of SSB ICMA, CMA Dr. Murthy, for his presence and support extended to ESG Summit 2025. Thank you, sir.
See, we are all talking about net zero by 2050, 2070 or something. EU says it's 2050 and US says 2050. India says it's 2070. How far is net zero really possible? See, in yesterday's presentation, there was that electricity generation makes around 40% emission.
India is yet to reach the peak as regards its emission is concerned. Then will be the journey from the peak to the bottom. That's the reason why we have, because we are an emerging market economy, we are a country of 1.4 billion people, is the reason why we have set 2070 compared to 2050 for other countries, and we want to be reasonable. It's not that, it's an optimistic or idealistic goal. Now I will come to that issue of, net zero, whether it is achievable. So that is why, so it's like, you are absolutely right. There cannot be a world without emissions, but then there can be carbon sinks. So that is where actually, so the thing is, you have to ensure that compared to the levels that was pre-industrial, the emissions have to be on a net zero basis. So this is my take on it.
We'll have the perspective from.
Yeah. So I think the problem that, it's definitely important to have a long-term goal, but I think what we're not doing well is the implementation of policy into real-world issues. There is a clear gap. I will just illustrate with an example. So Kochi Metro Rail runs 55% of its energy requirement for solar energy. We have put up at our stations, and then the trains take 55% of its energy from solar. And it's actually a very viable option as well. If you look at the ROI, it's around 4 to 5 years of getting back. And it's a very good thing for, you get that for the same price for 25 years if you go for a RESCO model. So which sort of, kind of fixes your major component, which is the power cost. So that takes care of that. So as an operator, I would definitely want to go ahead with renewable energy, not because it's only environmentally sustainable, it's long-term financially sustainable for myself as well. Let's say what KSEB did with the electricity charges right now. So the recent KSRC development what had was the electricity per unit of electricity now is around 5.5 rupee for during the solar hours and 9.2 rupees for non-solar hours, which is solar hours means 9 o'clock in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and from 4 to 9 it's again the non-solar hours. Most of the public transport recharges during the night because that's when it's not operational. So during the day we are operating. So we are actually incurring 3 rupees per kilometer because this cost has doubled. So the problem is that now your policy is, if it's for renewable energy, if it is for long term, if it's for electric vehicles, which is non-tailpipe emissions, then you have to back up your policy with actual things. Like you cannot randomly keep on changing this. The problem is very real for us because 3 rupees added to 1 kilometer makes me unviable. I don't run another bus. See, that cost is there. So what we tried to do was, again, now I thought about investing 3 crore rupees in solar energy. If I can have a 1 megawatt plant, I can be charging all my buses. Then KSEB came with another rule that if it is more than 0.5 megawatt, you need to have BESS system, which is the battery energy storage system. If the battery energy storage system of my ROE goes up to 9 years, so if it's a 10-year project, what am I doing investing in? So this problem is because we don't have the grid capacity right now. So it is high as 40% in some of places of India. So if you look at energy, it's 0.8 kilogram of carbon dioxide is emitted to produce 1 unit of electricity in India, because we are probably more thermal rather than any. And which means that for 1 unit, 1 kilometer that I'm running my bus, I'm incurring at the other end, or in Jharkhand or someplace, I'm incurring 0.8 kilogram of carbon dioxide, which is not a very sustainable way of running electric buses. But the policy has to be backed with long-term vision as well. So this is the biggest challenge I'm seeing, because we have goals, but we are not working towards the goals with real implementation strategies.
Just probably to quickly address the point on electric vehicles and the grid intensity. So there are studies which shows that even with the current, the current grid, which is largely fossil fuel dependent in India, the well-to-wheel emission of an electric vehicle right now is actually faring much better than an ICE vehicle, the regular internal combustion engine vehicle. That being said, when it comes to a net zero target, it needs to be backed up by multiple targets which can actually break down that whole transition to net zero. For instance, when we say net zero in India, there are hard to abate sectors like your cement or steel, aluminium, basically any such mineral sector. But when it comes to, say, mobility and certain other urban services, these are all our low-hanging fruits. For instance, India has an EV 30 at 30 target, which is 30% new vehicle sales by 2030 is electric vehicles. And we are well on our way to reaching that, at least in all of the non-freight segment. Freight truck segment, we might need a little bit more time to reach there. But yeah, so what I'm trying to say is that let's also try and break down a lot of our net zero targets to make it achievable short-term targets which would lead to a net zero. Because I think that was illustrated by the BRSR roadmaps that Sir showed earlier. While a lot of the companies does have net zero, there are also multiple other achievable targets within the next 1 or 2 years which are also mentioned, and some of the companies do seem to achieve them as well. Yeah.
Basically, from what the regulator said was the target was really achievable, and it is a fair possibility that we do achieve, but we have certain infrastructural constraints being pointed out by the industry. So, and they also identify that there are certain operational targets to be achieved on short term, medium term, and long term basis to actually get there. So, let us. Okay, let's.
So actually, whether it is achievable, actually, there is a press release of July 2025. So we had set a target that, 50% of the electric power will come from renewable energy by 2030. Now, on 21st of July 2025, we have achieved 51%, 5 years before schedule. And how it is achieved is, solar power and wind power. Solar power is actually accounting for the highest portion. So, as on that date, it was 51% renewables and 49% from fossil fuel. And within renewables, solar power was accounting for 50%. I'm saying the whole country, not for just one particular region or one state or one company. It's not the case. So we have already actually, so what I'm saying is, when you look at 2030, we achieved in 2025. So maybe in the case of 2070, we may achieve before, but we don't want to give a, goal and then, underperform.
Maybe we'll have your opinion also.
Yeah, to answer and complement to what Venkatesan sir just mentioned, a net zero scenario is not a world without any emissions, but it is in a point that it reaches to an equilibrium that what you gives to the nature is balanced to what you offset. So there are some offset mechanism by which we can accelerate our growth towards a net zero goal, on which I believe Venkatesan sir would be a right person to add more on to it, such as carbon market. Like there are regulatory carbon markets and BCM's voluntary carbon markets. So there are different offset mechanisms also which accelerate our progress towards a net zero goal.
It's nice to be optimistic because by 2070, hopefully we all will be dead. Okay, there is another question to Venkat sir. We were talking about in your discourse. You mentioned about social stock exchanges. I represent an NGO, and at the moment, our projects are on youth empowerment, and it's funded by the CSR outlay from companies. Now the question is, now with social stock exchanges, is it in use in a big way? That's one. Secondly, will there be any hindrance going forward to get funds from CSR outlay?
So, as you have seen, actually, this is also just like in the case of BRSR, it's also a new platform that has been introduced. The enabling factors I will tell. So, after putting in place the framework to facilitate actually fundraising, now there is actually benefit under the income tax for the money that is given to the investment in zero coupon, zero principal instruments. So that qualifies for that one. Second thing is that now we have actually aligned the objectives with the CSR objectives. So what happens is that even companies can, instead of taking projects on their own, they can actually deploy that funds in the zero coupon, zero principal instruments that are being issued by the social enterprises. Now, if that is the case, it's a big boost. So we have actually put in place this alignment of the objectives, but it will take some more time because that rules have to be amended. Another one is that we are also thinking about having a SRO sort of thing, a company to facilitate the development of the sector that actually is being piloted by the ministry only. So rather than seeing that, there will be hindrances, I think that, but see, you look at the positives, we have to put in place the guardrails. Reason is very simple, like, we get so many WhatsApp forwards. So and so is, ailing and would request for a help or donation. Two things are there, I will just say because of paucity of time. One is that you cannot verify whether it is a genuine one or not. That is where the registration on the social stock exchange platform will at least ensure you that the stock exchange has done the verification of the credentials of that social enterprise. Second is that, like I told you, there is an impact. Social impact is what actually will be reported year after year, and finally whether that objectives have been achieved. So you will get that report at periodic intervals, annual intervals. So that is also another guardrail. So these things are put in place. We have to ensure that, see, it cannot be like you have also, recently we had so many problems with the SME platform. Some of the companies that had come and got listed at enormous prices, they were not at all, the companies that should have come and raised the money. So that is what actually why we just again tightened some of the conditions. So here also, I am just telling you, enabling factors are being put in place. Like if CSR funds can come, then it is like, you look at the total CSR pool, and even a small fraction of that one, if it is finding its way to zero coupon, zero principal instruments, it will be a big boost.
Anyone has any more queries? Because we have a very, very learned panel before you. Maybe you don't get an opportunity in the next few days to pose questions. If there are no other questions, I know I am not as versatile a coordinator as Vijay, but still, being a substitute, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the panelists for their valuable and very informed contribution, which enriched each one of us. I will thank each one of them by name because each one of them is an expert in their own area. CMA Venkateswaran, he was my former colleague with SEBI. He is an expert in this field, and he is a member of the family. That's the most important thing. He belongs to the Cochin chapter initially. So thank you for now also. So thank you for being here and sharing your valuable insights with the participants. I go to Mr. Sachidanandan. He also shared with us his expertise, answered most of your questions. Thank you, sir, for being here and being a part of the panel. I thank Sri Gokul TG, a subject expert from the transportation industry. Thank you for being here and sharing your insights with us. And Srimati Aparna Vijay Kumar, Senior Program Manager, WRI India. Thank you, madam, for being here and being a part of the panel. We started off yesterday with a very colorful and sketchy definition of ESG by Vijay to the complexities of ESG in the industry through the compliance and regulatory mechanisms, and now we are concluding the session with real action on ESG. Thank you, and I hand it over to the MC for further proceedings. Thank you.
Thank you, Arun sir. Thank you, panelists, for such a meaningful discussion, and thank you, CMA Vijay Kiran in his absence, and CMA Arun Kumar for beautifully navigating through the whole process. As we come to the close of this enriching two-day ESG Summit 2025, it's a moment of renewed commitment, reflection, and gratitude.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, we have come to the fag end of the two-day sessions on ESG, empowering enterprises for a sustainable future. I have not got out from the hangover of the definition that Vijay gave. From that first colorful, sketchy definition to the final ESG action, we have traveled through the 2 days, through engaging discussions, sessions, fun, entertainment. I thank all the speakers who have come all the way from various places to deliver their sessions. I thank each one of them. I thank the committee members and the team who have actually worked tirelessly behind the scenes to make this program a huge success. I thank the MCs for being the minute-to-minute managers for this entire program. I thank the participants who are the most important part in this program. People have come all the way from Hyderabad, Coimbatore, Madurai. I don't know if I have missed out any other place. We are always grateful to each one of you for having taken the pains to come, participate, and make this program a grand success. I thank Palette Hotels, the photography team, the team that supported us with the light and sound. And if I have missed out anybody, all members of this team who have worked even in the smallest fashion to be a part of this program. I thank each one of them. I wish you a pleasant journey back home, and I wish that most of you will come back and join us for the next program that we will organize next year in a much more exotic destination with a more impactful topic. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Have a happy journey home back.
Over the past 2 days, we have engaged in thought-provoking discussions, insightful technical sessions, and inspiring panel conversations that translated the concept of ESG from theory into action. This summit was special not only for its intellectual depth, but also for its unique residential format. The presence of families added warmth, balance, and meaning to our conversations, reminding us that sustainability is not just about balance sheet and businesses, but about people, future generation, and the world we leave behind. Your engagement, both formal and informal, truly made these 2 days impactful and memorable. As we disperse from this beautiful venue, let us carry forward not just learnings, but a shared resolve to integrate ESG principles into everyday decision making and to be responsible towards sustainable growth. With this note, we formally conclude the 2-day ESG Summit 2025. We wish you a safe journey back home, of course, after having the lunch, and look forward to meet you again at the future programs of the chapter. Thank you all, and this is Rashmi Krishna Kumar
And Malavika Krishna.
signing off. Have a wonderful day ahead.
सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे